Hi and welcome back to the channel. This is the second attempt I've made to do this video because in the first one I had a background cloth which did this. So it got too trippy and so I had to start all over again. That's the wonder of doing a YouTube channel. So as everybody on this clay and granite planet knows, it's Black Friday, which means you spend tons and tons of money on stuff you didn't need because it's marginally cheaper than it would be any other day of the year. And so capitalism grabs us by the gonads and squeezes until we cough up money. I went to the shops today. I went to JB Hi-Fi and here is my haul of things I got on Black Friday. Plus, as you can see from the title of the video, a box set that I had delivered just after I did my last video, which is really cool. So we'll start off with the haul. Went in there, 30% off at the moment on JB Hi-Fi. I've got a couple other things I ordered from them by post, which I'm waiting for. But here's the stuff I got in the shop today and really enjoy having. Now, first off, we're going to start with David Lynch's version of Frank Herbert's Dune. By the way, little known fact, I once met Frank Herbert at a convention. Very nice guy. But leaving that aside, Dune. It's got its problems. It's a very, very weird movie. In some ways, I suppose it's too weird for 1984 when it came out. Yeah, it just has a lot of Lynchian strangeness about it. I'm not sure Kyle MacLachlan was the right choice to play Paul Atreides in it. I definitely know that Sting can't act. And the special effects were pretty good for the time, but not really up to what you need to tell the saga of the Atreides family and the planet Arrakis and all those other things around the story of Dune. But having said that, the only other version of this that I could find, which I had for a while, is a really shitty pan and scan version which was cut to pieces, released about 15 years ago here in Australia on DVD, and it was crap. So I'm glad I got a copy of this. I'm not going to compare and contrast it with Denis Villeneuve's new version, which is coming out next year, but I will go and see that because I'm interested in it and I want to see how much they can do to fix what went wrong with this movie. Having said that, there is a pretty good supporting cast in this. You've got people like Jose Ferrer in there. You've got Virginia Madsen. Good solid supporting cast, and it's a weird movie. Now, here's where it gets personal. I once saw this movie while tripping on LSD, and to be honest with you, it enhances the film no end. Now, I'm not going to tell you to take drugs, not take drugs. You're a grown-up, you can make your decisions. But what I'd say is make sure somebody around you isn't, if you're going to drop a tab of acid and watch Dune, because it's a good thing to have somebody who can reality check for you while you are indulging in hallucinogenic substances. But I want to see it on Blu-ray. I want to see it in a nice big screen at home. Lionsgate to put this one out. I don't think they've got any extras in there. There are none written on the back, so it's a pretty bare bones edition, but I got it for $7 after the discount. So it's not a bad buy at that price to get a copy of a very well known and kind of good bad in the middle somewhere version of an iconic science fiction intellectual property. Having said that, we're going to another fictional intellectual property, one that I saw on a double feature on a Saturday matinee when I was a kid and was very impressed with for numerous reasons. And by the way, here it is, Samson and Delilah, Cecil B. DeMille's movie. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit now and kind of make that a little bit bigger. There we go. Yeah, starring Victor Mature and the wonderful Hedy Lamarr, who was fantastic and also a really keen amateur scientist as well. But it's a Cecil B. DeMille biblical epic from 1949. It's also got Angela Lansbury and George Sanders in it, which is not a bad thing. Victor Mature, of course, plays Samson. Delilah, played by Hedy Lamarr, cuts his hair and he loses his superpowers. I've never been a person of faith, and this religious movie for me played more like a superhero narrative, and probably still does. I'm going to put this one aside and do it in a 24-hour marathon that I'm planning in December, and that will be released in December. So I'm going to do another 24-hour marathon. And I'm going to chuck Samson and Delilah in there because I want to revisit it and just see how it holds up and whether it's as silly and ridiculous and over the top as it was when I was a kid. So I'm glad I got a copy of that. I'm really happy with that. Who doesn't like Zhang Shi, the Chinese hopping vampires? And here is the original gangster Chinese hopping vampire movie from my point of view. Mr. Vampire, directed by Tony Lau. It's a lot of fun. It's very much one of those 1970s, 1980s wire work kung fu epics with a lot of hopping vampires in there. It mixes comedy with acrobatics and horror and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot of fun. This is a kind of bare bones looking edition. There's more under the bonnet than shows on the cover, so the cover's pretty simple, and on the back it's pretty simple, but there are extras on here. There's it's got dual language, so you don't just get an English dub of it. Audio commentary from Hong Kong cinema expert Bai Logan. Interview with the leading man Chin Sui Ho. Interview with Moon Lee, who was in it as well, and something about one of the other people who was in the film. So it's got more extras than you normally get on a $7, and again $7 with a discount, on a $7 bare bones looking edition of probably one of the best Chinese hopping vampire movies, Mr. Vampire. Glad I got this one. I'm glad it came with all the extras too. I'm very happy with the quality of this given how much it cost me. Now we get into a couple of movies that I bought for Sally because one of her great cinematic passions, apart from early era Harrison Ford, is shark movies. So we picked up a couple of shark movies. The first one we've seen before, but we needed to get it to complete out the series. It's the third of the Deep Blue Sea movies, Deep Blue Sea 3, filmed in South Africa, strong female character in the lead. It's about a research station on a floating platform in the middle of the ocean, which gets attacked by hyper-intelligent sharks. There are a whole bunch of ripped male mercenaries in there who come to take control of the sharks. There's a lot of reasonable CG in it. It's got the usual jump scares and the unexpected bits in it. It's not fantastically great, but the second unit work is really good. The special effects as far as stunt work is on par with anything you're going to get elsewhere. And it's maybe a little bit better than I expected it to be. It's got a few extras. Deep Blue Sea 3, Fight to the Death. Sinking Sets and Sharks, Making of Deep Blue Sea 3. So it does have a few extras in it. Again, this is another one I picked up for $7, which is here in Australia is a good price for a Blu-ray of any kind of movie. And I'm kind of glad I picked it up for Sal's collection. Then I walked around the corner of the shop and found two more shark movies. These two are kind of like Waterworld with sharks. Empire of the Sharks and Planet of the Sharks. It's kind of trying to make a franchise like Planet of the Apes, except with sharks. No, nothing else about them apart from there. It says Great White Attack Pack, which you've got to like for the alliteration. And yeah, so it's got that Waterworld look with people dressing up in scraps of clothing and with spears and all sorts of other things. Don't expect it to be fantastic. Don't even expect it to be good. But it's a double feature shark movie for $7. You can't really knock that. And I expect the special effects to be rudimentary at best. But it's going to keep Sal entertained when she's in the mood for watching a little bit of shark action. Next up, we've got an Australian movie that I saw for the first time yesterday. For my gig that I do for ABC local radio in the Northern Territory of Australia, here's where the Northern Territory is. They do Australian Music Month in November, and they try to link in all of the stuff they do on the station with Australian music in some way. So we had to find a movie that was full of Australian music with Australian music stars. And it's getting a little hard because we've done this for a few years now and we're running out of movies. Then I realised I hadn't seen this film, and Beck, who I do it with, Rebecca McLaren, the presenter on the evenings in ABC Darwin, was surprised that I hadn't seen this movie. And it is directed by Wayne Blair, The Sapphires, which is kind of based on a true story of an Aboriginal girls group, or young women singers, who went to Vietnam to entertain the troops in the 1960s. It's kind of loosely based on that. It's got a really great cast of Australian Indigenous performers in it. You've got Sherry Sebbins, you've got Miranda Tapsell, Jessica Malboy, Deborah Mailman, and for the token Irishman, you've got Chris O'Dowd. Now, there was a problem with this when it first came out because a lot of the promotional art and posters and things like that featured Chris O'Dowd very prominently because he's the overseas name actor. He was in Thor Dark World. He was really brought to the foreground, where he is very much a supporting actor in this one. It's a really good movie. It's about these 4 young women who are Yorta Yorta women from up around the Murray River country, in between Victoria and New South Wales. Really nice sense of the time. There's some scenes at the start filmed in a pub which show you the kind of endemic racism that Australia had in the 1960s. Now, I hung around a few country pubs when I was a kid in the 60s, and that rang true to me. But the music is fantastic. They do a whole bunch of soul and R&B hits in this one. There are some cover versions and there's some original one. There's Run Through the Jungle by Creedence, the original version of that. They filmed part of it in Vietnam as well, and it does talk about issues that were contemporary at the time. And as the titles roll, there was the Freedom bus trip that Charles Perkins did to rural New South Wales to desegregate the local swimming pools. There's a whole bunch of other Indigenous issues in this one, including a very strong subplot about the stolen generation of children who were taken away from their parents all the way through the first 3 quarters of the 20th century. And that really does inform the narrative. It's a story about music, it's a story about talent, it's a story about family, and it's really great that these 4 Indigenous women in the movie find out their best selves when they're not repressed. So they go to Vietnam, they're accepted for who they are and for their talents, and they kind of blossom under those circumstances. It's a really great film. I like Wayne Blair as a director. He directed a lot of the second season of the Mystery Road television series. He directed one of my favourite movies over the last year or so, Top End Wedding, starring Miranda Tapsell. It's a really great movie. If you want to learn more about Australian Indigenous culture and the way that First Nations of Australia see the world, you really want to check out the Sapphires. And again, it's one I got for $7. And I'm glad I got a physical copy. It's on Netflix at the moment here in Australia. Hopefully where you are as well, but use a VPN if you need to. And it's worth checking out, definitely. Finally, we've got the title of this particular video. The box set that gave me the title for the video. It's the Indicator produced box set of the Christopher Lee Fu Manchu movies between 1965 and 1969. The Face of Fu Manchu, The Brides of Fu Manchu, The Vengeance of Fu Manchu, The Blood of Fu Manchu, and The Castle of Fu Manchu. The last 2 were directed by Jess Franco, and so they're a little bit different. Christopher Lee's in all of them. A Chinese-British actor called Sai Chin plays his daughter in all 5 movies, but his main antagonist, Sir Dennis Nayland Smith, is played by different actors in different movies. In this one, it's Nigel Green, and he's really good. Nigel Green's my favourite Nayland Smith. In these 2, he was played by Douglas Wilmer, who's a little bit stiffer and doesn't quite have a handle on the role. And in the last 2, he's played by Richard Green, who people might remember played Robin Hood in the 1950s British TV series The Adventures of Robin Hood. But this package by Indicator is really good. It's the best box set I've got from an information point of view. Every one of the 5 discs has a ton of extras in it. It's got a little slippy thing here, and it's a limited edition. I got 2448 of 6,000, and there are lots of commentary tracks, lots of extra information, and there are some silent movie versions of the Fu Manchu narrative added in as well. Now, it's packaged, as I said, really wonderfully. You got each of the 5 movies in these little cardboard and plastic slip covers, and they've all got the great production art with the German production art in the inside covers. Really nicely done. I'm so happy with the way this looks. We also get some production art done as cards. These are promotional ones. There's Sai Chin, who plays the daughter of Fu Manchu in the series. There is Christopher Lee and Sai Chin in one of the movies. There's Christopher Lee playing Fu Manchu. And again, Christopher Lee playing Fu Manchu. And there are a few of the people from one of the later ones, one of the Jess Franco ones. I know this stuff's racist. The whole Fu Manchu character, created by Sax Roma in the early part of the 20th century, was about white people's fear of other cultures. It was about the yellow peril. It was racist as hell. He retconned a lot of it towards the end because he did the last Fu Manchu novel in about 1959. But the commentary tracks in these movies recognise and acknowledge the racism of yellow face and having a white actor playing a person from Asia, from East Asia. And the movies do kind of play into that yellow peril narrative, as indeed did the one that Boris Karloff did in early years, and a TV series in the 50s, and all the other Fu Manchu narratives as well, which is why he got retconned out of Shang-Chi, the Master of Kung Fu, which is going to be one of the next Marvel movies. But having said that, there are some really great extras in this one. There's a double-sided poster of the first two movies, which is on some really nice cardstock. Really happy with that. Bride of Fu Manchu there, and the face of Fu Manchu there. I'm not going to put this up on a wall. I'm going to keep it with the set because I think they're all of a thing. There's also a booklet, almost a book, with a whole bunch of information about the character and about the movies. There's a little bit about each of the 5 films. There's an essay by Tim Lucas about the Fu Manchu films of the 60s. There's an essay about Harry Alan Towers, who was the producer who put all of these together and wrote every one of them under a pseudonym. There's information about Sax Roma, who wrote the books, and a whole bunch of exploitation of Fu Manchu, and a few other essays as well. It's a really nice little booklet giving a lot more context and information about this particular intellectual property. There's one saying Fu Manchu for mayor. So yeah, it's a really nicely put together package. It works really well for those of us who are into exploitation films of the 1960s in particular. And it did cost me a little bit, I'll be honest with you. It cost me more than I pay normally for box sets and other things. But it was discounted by zavi.com.au, and so I'm kind of happy that I was able to find the money to get this one. I already had the first 3 of them on a very bare bones DVD box set that came out about 10 or 15 years ago. But this one is total quality. Indicator do a lot of really fine releases of various movies and movie series, and this one is no exception. It really is the best box set that I've purchased this year, and I'm kind of glad that I got it because I'm a big fan of exploitation movies. So that's about it this time around. This is the haul. Thank you very much for watching, and as usual, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Leave a comment, hit the notification bell. Let me know which bits you liked and which ones you want to see, and whether you would buy the Fu Manchu box set or whether your own beliefs about race and portrayals of race would preclude you from doing that. But for me, it's a good box set. I've watched all 5 of the movies, and they do get progressively worse, particularly the last 2 Jess Franco ones. Though Blood of Fu Manchu does veer into having some gratuitous female nudity in it, which is a hallmark of Jess Franco movies. But anyway, as usual, watch some good movies, watch some bad movies. Look after yourself, follow the science, wear a mask, and wear it over your nose. And I'll catch you next time. Bye.